This is Wake and Bake with Reverend Kim. It is said that opinion is the lowest form of knowledge and that empathy is the highest. This is even what karma teaches. It helps you to get over yourself with experiences that teach compassion. Compassion is the energy of unconditional love. It's the vibration of the universe. Empathy is a natural byproduct of awakening. It's the experience of connection. There's a really big difference there then, right? Between opinion and empathy, it's the duality. If empathy is the divine, then opinion must be ego. It serves the self. It is the self. It's data collected, programming and analysis, generating thoughts and feelings to reinforce your own beliefs, wants, fears, filters. So then here's where the danger of the very overused and trendy expression, speak your truth, comes in. Don't get sucked in. It's an ego trap. Speak your truth is an ego trap. It's ego hiding in the cloak of spirituality. It's what's being encouraged right now. It's what's being taught, what's always referred to when discussing the throat chakra. You hear it all the time. Speak your truth, speak your truth. Unfortunately, this is just another example of trendiness taking over and twisting what the teaching really is. It's so misunderstood, and people are being misguided to reinforce their egos with this self-empowering phrase instead of the complete opposite, which is what a healed and open throat chakra really looks like. This is the place of surrender. This is the place where head and heart meet, the filter and the passage through which passion and true guidance blend to become spoken into this reality, the place where human and spirit meet. It has nothing to do with your own opinions. It has nothing to do with your own thoughts or wants or feelings, angers or upsets. It has nothing to do with shouting for justice or claiming your space in this world. It's about the complete opposite. It's about surrender. The throat chakra is where you surrender your will for divine will. All the chakras below the throat are lower vibrational, more primal chakras. The third eye and the crown and the ones above that are the higher vibrational chakras. The throat is the passageway. When it's open and healed, this is where you suspend all personal desires. You suspend all personal heartaches and personal pride. This is where you surrender the self to the divine. When the higher chakras open up, there's no place for ego there. They are the spiritual energy centers, and healing and opening the throat is literally a rite of passage. You won't be given the blessings of divine sight or divine guidance to serve your ego. You won't be given the blessings of knowing and seeing until you're no longer in a place of wanting to serve the self. Speaking your truth is just your opinion, your own personal thoughts, your own programming, your own will. Your will has purpose. It's primal, and it sits mostly in the solar plexus. Your own will and want and power, it's there as a survival mechanism. It's primal. When it's healed, it's at its best. It gives a quiet, steady stream of fuel. But unhealed, it wreaks havoc. This is where arrogance and entitlement can come in. It's forceful and boastful, and it's really all about pride. We get into so much trouble over this one. Wars are fought over pride. Jealousy and rage and greed and all those things that say me, they come from this place. It's where the need for control comes in, and with it, anxiety too. There's no room for that in the energy of the divine. It only makes sense that you won't progress through your spiritual awakening and healing process then until you've transmuted some of that ego presence. You have to switch out your will to divine will. You have to find surrender. When you do, in this divine will, and you're surrendered to it, you relinquish control. You relinquish the self and allow the flow of the universe, the will of God and the grand plan to take over. It ain't about you. So you and your own thoughts and feelings are recognized for what they are and witnessed as ego. And the space opens up for the universe and your own soul to work through you. You become a channel. But a true channel doesn't serve the self. It will never be angry or aggressive. It will never talk down to anyone or blame or condemn or judge. It will sound like God coming through because it is God. It's full of compassion and understanding. It is forgiveness. It is unconditional, and it knows the big picture and its own perfection and the imperfection, and it loves the process. Even when it's something simple, like a simple interaction with a fellow human being over nothing too important or concerning, it doesn't have to be spiritual teachings or readings or something like that when we're talking about channeling. We channel all the time. We channel inspiration and comfort and wisdom and presence. Divine presence, not your egos. When the throat's open and healed, you speak the will of God, not your own truth. We need to get over ourselves and stop this in its tracks. But it's tricky though, because when you're reinforcing the ego, it feels so good. Really, really good. But it's the wrong kind of good. It feels empowering. It feels empowering because it is. It's empowering the ego. God doesn't need to feel empowered. It is the almighty power with nothing to prove. You see the difference there? God doesn't need to prove anything. This universe doesn't need to assert who it is and why it's come to be. It just is. It is true confidence, true power, true source. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It has no pride. It doesn't push or force its ideas and opinions. It has no need to. It has no ego to inflate. It doesn't care what anybody thinks. It doesn't care what anybody believes or does either. It is perfect trust and perfect love. It allows. It is surrender. If you catch yourself feeling justified or wanting to feel heard, wanting to have your thoughts and ideas, your pains, your sufferings listened to, wanting your beliefs heard and accepted and agreed with, and let's face it, that is ultimately what you're looking for then. Nobody ever makes an argument or voices anything at all wanting to be disagreed with. Well, not consciously anyway. Some people really do live to argue, but you see where I'm going with this, right? Speaking your truth solidifies and reinforces the ego. It's a trap. You've been told it's the spiritual thing to do, but I'm going to break it to you. It's just not. It's primal, based on survival and fears. God doesn't actually care if you believe or understand what it is and why it exists. You care if people believe you or believe in you and understand what you are and why you exist. You care what you have to say. Don't bother trying to challenge anyone either. Ever. On anything. That's ego. It's your want for someone else to think and feel and believe as you do. Even if you mean well, people often get excited about things, new understandings, or even about their own awakenings, and they want to pull everybody else in. Even if you believe with all of you that you have the answer, you know the way, you believe you can help, it's not your place and it's not the way. Divine will never ask you to push, ever. If you have real information to relay, the way will appear, and it will be peaceful and productive and come from a place beyond you. Even if you're asked, don't respond with your opinion. It's yours, and it's self-serving. There's a very different quality to universal will, and it will also never ask you to do or say anything that could harm another person, including yourself, and it won't put you in misery. Divine truth never divides or condemns. It understands the big picture because it is the big picture. It's also in control. It's the creator and the puppet master. If someone wants or needs some information, they'll come to you and get it and want to listen. They'll want to. The energy of the wisdom will draw them in, not your forcefulness. Serendipity will happen. Coincidences, like they talk about in the Celestine prophecy. It really does work like that. The right person at the right time will convey the right message, and it will feel exhilarating, even if it can be judged on the surface as bad news. That different quality is felt. It's still there. It'll be hopeful, uplifting in some way. It's always getting us to our highest good. Let it guide the flow. If you do have the answer, if you have channeled divine guidance, then bask in it. Enjoy it and take it in, quietly, humbly. Why do we have to be so loud anyway? Social media has been a loudspeaker for so many unhealed throat chakras. We all need to be silent more often and integrate what we're experiencing, to embody it and become it, to be the change, or even just to vibe it. That's more convincing than arguing. That's more convincing than trying to show or persuade or lead or guide or teach. Be your own student. People will come to understand by osmosis. Let life come to you. And in the meantime, get over yourself and do your own work. Anything that triggers you is for you. So whatever this truth is that you're trying to speak, it's much better practice to listen to it instead. Listen to it. Witness your truth and make adjustments accordingly. It's there for you. And the kicker is, chances are pretty good that whatever it is trying to lead you to that surrender. Stop projecting outward. Have a look at what you want the world or someone to hear and understand and apply it to yourself. Your own shadows are speaking to you. Denial sits here too, in the throat chakra. You have to be willing to see. You have to be willing to let the light, the divine, illuminate those shadows. So then how do you know what it actually is, divine truth and not your ego? It has to set you free. You'll feel empty. You'll feel joy, peace, gratitude. Truth can't make you miserable. It will restore you to your true nature. You'll feel that surrender and the deep faith in the grand plan. You'll feel free. Truth and freedom have to go together. There can't be truth without love. You'll feel open and fearless and eternal, with no fear of death, no fear of mortality, no fear for mankind, not of anything, not even war. Just like Bob Marley saying, have no fear for atomic energy, for none of them can stop the time. It's a different level of confidence. It's divine confidence. It trusts the perceived bad and wrong and painful and unjust. It has gratitude for all those who would seemingly oppose you. It knows that there is no opponent. There is no other. It knows there is no fight. There are no winners and losers, and it never, ever seeks to condemn or blame or cast ill wishes, not even for those your judgment would deem as evil. That's still you. That's not God's way. When you're in that surrender, when you've switched out your will for divine will, the flow of your life begins to change. The whole universe will support you with less and less obstacles because you don't need them anymore. You've let go of resistance and you're allowing all to be as it was and all to be as it is and will be. So the challenges are no longer necessary. You can learn and gain wisdom by tuning into those next two higher chakras that are getting ready to open up and assist you. Your third eye and crown will take over and guide you. You'll no longer be reacting and behaving in ways to protect and serve your primal needs, your survival instincts, because you've arrived at the place of the eternal and no longer have fears of mortality. You become more happy, that real sustained feeling of joy, because you'll become more and more peaceful. When you allow and trust, there is nothing but peace. So if you're not feeling more peace in your life, then that's the sure indicator that it's not God's will, it's not divine truth, it's your truth and it's your ego. Your will versus divine will. Me. This is how I feel. This is what I want. This is what I think. This is what I believe. This is what I discovered. Who cares? Well, you care. But as soon as you stop, as soon as you trade in your will for divine will, trade in your truth for divine truth, you'll step into more freedom and peace and bliss than you ever knew you could. It will be there, thicker and heartier and more pleasant and enjoyable than having your voice heard, your opinion or feelings validated. You'll feel elated and exhilarated and know that you are the creator, and if there's anything you want to change, then you do so from within, not from without. And that's a healed throat chakra. Don't speak your truth. Be silent. Surrender and let divine truth set you free. Let's light it up with Reverend Kim.